For more on this, I'm joined from Beirut by retired Brigadier General Khalil Helou, Professor of Geopolitics. Brigadier General, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for your time.
The pleasure is mine.
I just want to start by asking you, Israel has hit Beirut for the first time in months without issuing a warning, killing Hezbollah's chief of staff. How is Hezbollah going to respond to this?
Well, the alternatives of Hezbollah are very limited. In fact, in theory, you have a lot of alternatives, either targeting Israel from the Lebanese territory, or using the Syrian territory, or using even Yemen. In that case, Iran should be okay with it. Or carry out operations outside the Middle East against Israeli diplomatic delegations. But all these alternatives are theoretical. In fact, Hezbollah has a very narrow margin of maneuver because they know very well in the Hezbollah command, if whatever they do, even from Lebanon or from anywhere in the Middle East or out in the world, Israel will retaliate harshly. And we are expecting in the forthcoming weeks an escalation, a huge escalation of bombing over Israel, over Hezbollah operatives and Hezbollah positions in Lebanon. The reason is very simple. It's not a matter of an issue or of Hezbollah leader or Hezbollah military commander. In fact, the killed person, Tabatabai, is the chief of staff of Hezbollah. He's the #1 military officer. And of course, this will undermine the chain of command and control within Hezbollah. And it will create a moral strike. But the problem is not there. The problem is that Israel has a very clear strategy in Lebanon. Israel in the past was concerned about the security of the northern cities and villages in Israel. But at this time, it's not, the issue is not there. They already made deals with Hezbollah. The first one was in 2000. The second one was in 2006. And these deals were not met by Hezbollah. Hezbollah always got profit of the truce, of the ceasefire, in order to rearm and reorganize.
Brigadier,
Hezbollah is proposed.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to butt in there. I do apologize. I wanted to ask you a question about the escalation, because you said an escalation could be coming, and that's what Lebanon could be expecting from Israel. In that case, do you think the US is doing enough to restrain Israel from attacking Lebanon nearly a year after the ceasefire came into place?
Now, the problem there is that the Lebanese government and the Lebanese presidents, since the beginning of the year, were asking the international community, and particularly Washington, to press Israel to restrain and to have patience, because the implementation of the 1701 resolution of Council of Security will be implemented, but Lebanese government needs time. Why? Because in the Lebanese government there is a division. The Hezbollah has 2 ministers there, and his ally, the Amal movement, has 2 other ministers. And these ministers, they refuse to disarm Hezbollah, even though the president and the prime minister mentioned that, or took the decision to disarm Hezbollah and to have the monopoly of the use of force and the sovereignty of the state. But despite this, Hezbollah is maneuvering. In the first beginning, they accepted to implement the 1701 resolution. But after that, they started to get away of it, or to get back, to have stepped back from it, saying that they are a resistance, they don't accept to withdraw weapons, and so on. So the problem is within the Lebanese government, not in the Lebanese armed forces. The Lebanese armed forces are doing their duty perfectly. In the south of the Litani, they underwent 1,500 successful missions, And the American officer of the mechanism that is responsible to implement the 1701, he testified that the Lebanese army is doing well. And even Donald Trump freed $190 million in the US military budget that was planned by the Biden administration and then freezed by Donald Trump. This $190 million for the Lebanese army has been freed a few weeks ago because the army is doing well.
Oh, just want to ask you something about the Lebanese armed forces at the moment. So we're talking about a possible escalation with Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. If this does happen, is the Lebanese armed forces ready? And are they strong enough to counter an Israeli attack? Or do the Lebanese armed forces need Hezbollah military support?
It is out of question to have a common military coordination between Hezbollah and the Lebanese armed forces toward Israel. The reason is very simple. The Lebanese armed forces, they follow the policy of the government, the official policy of the government. The official policy of the government is to implement the 1701 resolution that stipulates to a ceasefire and to have the Lebanese state should have the monopoly of the use of force and should gather or take by peace or not peace the armament of Hezbollah. So the Lebanese armed forces are in a situation of truce with Israel. Either the 1949 truce memorandum or the 1701. So it's out of question to have a war with Israel. Now, if Israel attacks directly the Lebanese armed forces positions, okay, they will retaliate. But talking about a strategy to be built between Hezbollah and the Lebanese armed forces, this is out of question because the Lebanese armed forces are securing the positions of Hezbollah in South Lebanon. Already they secured more than 500 positions where Hezbollah was stationed, and now these positions are in the hands of the Lebanese armed forces. And now what the Lebanese armed forces could do is try to contain the situation, meaning that they should prove, but this is the government issue, they should prove that they are able to implement the UN resolution on their own without Israeli intervention. This is the issue. The issue is not to open a new war with Israel.
Khalil, Helou, thank you so much for joining me and for your analysis.